There we go. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. For those I haven't met before, my name is Lori, and I am a business and personal brand success coach with the Zennial Traveler, who helps freedom-loving coaches, consultants, and strategists grow, scale, and build sustainable location-independent businesses and personal brands, whether they are startups or scaling. And we do this to support them long-term so that they will never need to look back in that rearview mirror at the 9-to-5 life again. And today I am joined by Julia Katsivo Carter, the founder of Successful and Smart Business Coaching. She transforms the mindsets of ambitious women, solo business owners, to operate in a state of abundance. This enables them to expand their visions and operations, make the impact they desire, and finally put an end to playing small, living within what they think they should do. Freedom personified. Okay, I love that. Welcome, Julia. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining. And since we are live, just want to invite everybody, if you're here, feel free to let us know, say hello, ask questions, and if you're watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. But let's go ahead and dive in. I want to hear a little bit more about you, Julia, and the story behind. I know we're going to talk a bit about intuitive business planning today. So what kind of got you into this world of holistic business coaching?
Goodness, what a winded road, but I think that's most of our story. Like
Yeah.
every good girl who tries to do the right thing, I went down the corporate path. And so I worked for between Fortune 500 companies and the Canadian Public Service, so Canada Revenue Agency. But the whole time there was this voice in the back of my head that was like, is this really what you were put here to do? Is this really what you're supposed to be doing? Is this really what you want for yourself? And so in 2014, at the end of 2014, I said, you know what? I love helping people. And especially with mindset and strategy. And I just had a heart for entrepreneurs because while working in the different areas, the idea was to help them, but I was working within mandates and red tape and, just doing my job, but I wasn't able to really do my job. If I really said what I needed to say, so I just thought entrepreneurs are the real definition of dreamers and business owners. They're the ones who, against all odds, and created something, and they need that's what I thought. And so I stepped out, and January 2015 I started coaching business, and it's a wild ride. One thing I didn't realize was how much it would grow me, and how much because I was this for others, I really needed it for myself. Which is the thing about business, isn't it? It ends up being one of the best personal development tools up there in the world.
Yeah, entrepreneurship, they don't tell you that at the beginning, but it is definitely, as much as it is about business, it is also about that personal growth that we have as individuals.
Absolutely. And especially coming from, because I know a lot of people who are listening are probably doing that transition, is one thing you realize is that you may have been really, really good in one thing, but when you're walking into a space that's sort of like the will, it asks you not to be good at a thing, but to be open and resourceful and resilient, which is a completely different skill set, completely different mindset. And if you keep holding on to what you think you know or who you are or were, then you just miss on truly the fastest, wisest path to your success. So it's a lot of fun, and I end up doing a lot of mindset work. I started the online space in 2017. That was for my own energy needs, to meet my own energy requirements. And then around 2018, working exclusively with women. Not that there was anything wrong with men. Actually, the problem was that men get it faster than women did.
You were the first person I've ever heard that from.
Women, there were so many setbacks, so much baggage, and
Yeah,
really,
we are. We as women, I think we're, unfortunately in a society, and it doesn't even matter, whether you're in Canada or the US or any other country, um, we're all the same, no matter where we are in terms of, the expectation of society when it comes to women and what we're taught of how we should act or behave. And it's so deeply ingrained in our minds that it affects us, like in all aspects of our life, including our businesses. 1000%.
yeah, yeah, and it just makes it hard. It does, because half the time you don't even realize that you're coming in with all this stuff, and so while you're trying to build your business, you just keep coming up against stuff, what's happening or what's going on. And women are taught to kind of like push through or be the superhero, be the superwoman. So what I found that we kind of like throw away our intuition, and
Yeah.
that's one of the most powerful agents that we have in going through life and make decisions for ourselves. And we lean a lot into our masculine energy, which is all about planning and hustle and push. And whereas all of that does have a place, I've discovered through life and through coaching others that the feminine energies also have their role in helping you really figure out what is best for you, will work best for you, and give you the results you want without sacrificing your freedom, or or letting you accept stupid things in the name of growth.
I love that. Bluntly put, I love it. I love it. So yeah, so I know let's dig into the meat of this, right? And talk about, intuitive business planning and how people can really do that in a way that complements that lifestyle that they want, and so that you don't have to succumb to that hustle culture. And again, like you said, there is a place for that, because let's be honest, starting a business takes work. There's going to
Yeah.
be some hustle, but you can deal with it and manage it in a way that is more intuitive than what I think a lot of us believe or are taught in the beginning, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so here's the crazy thing is, like, you start off with a business idea or a business plan that in its most basic nature is pure and simple and just absolutely makes sense, and it's really clear in your mind. And then your logical brain kicks in and it demands that you have a plan. And so if you're like me, you end up with this 14-page plan that's like so precise, filled with charts. You've got your pies, graphs, and all of that good stuff, and just really overcomplicating it, and then trying to follow that plan that's supposed to just be a projection, that's supposed to be a guidebook, and then falling off that plan, or not even really realizing any kind of growth or learning that you have done, because you're holding yourself up against this idea of where you should be or who you should be or where you should be. So what I found was a huge problem in working with entrepreneurs was that their plan made sense if they did not have families, if they did not have menstrual cycles, if they did not have different energy requirements, if they didn't have different ways of interacting with the world, like if they were robots, yes, that plan would be perfect.
Sure. Yeah, we can make that happen, right?
Human, and they were not taking into consideration lifestyle needs and requirements, then they were always falling short of that plan and finding another reason to beat themselves up, finding another reason to say, this is why it'll never work for me, another reason to push. And what happens, especially with pushing where it's not warranted, is you end up putting your nervous system in overdrive. And that's where we start getting these health problems that
Mhm.
for now, they don't really bother you. But in about 10 years, 15 years, I've seen highly successful entrepreneurs look back and think, man, I drove my body to the ground and I didn't even realize it. So what I discovered was that we all have a natural way of getting things done. But we seem to forget that when it comes up against metrics like money, like time, that just
Mhm.
goes out the window. And what we're doing is, instead of looking at what intuitively works best for us, meaning that we are created like we have systems, we have ways of flowing, ways of being. I mean, the reason why you have the business you have is that it's different from a
Mhm.
person who can do the exact same thing in a different way. That's where you get that originality. That's what makes you stand out. But in trying to be perfect copies of each other, this is where you get out of alignment with who you truly are and what you're supposed to do that's different for the type of person who would best work with you. And you start looking out into the world, looking for that perfect plan, that perfect way to achieve that metric, and really completely lose your compass chasing it. And you know what? Been there, done that. When I
Yeah.
started out, I had my own ideas about what success looked like to me. And for me, in the very beginning, it was obviously, you want to have a profitable business, whatnot. You want that empire, or, all of that good stuff. But
Mhm.
really, what I was trying to do was to help people in a way that I could not, working within corporate or government structures. That really was it. I wanted to be able
Mhm.
to be myself because I knew that that's how I was most effective. There's a way that I speak that just makes sense to the person who's listening to me. However, when working within
100%.
corporate or working within government, that would be different, right? Now, when I went in, what happened? Halfway through, I started listening to all the people telling me that's not very professional and you need to wear a suit. So I went out and bought my suits and you need to speak like this and you
Mhm.
need to not say that and started to become a carbon copy of the people that I was following.
Uh-huh.
Completely out of alignment. And it all became about, okay, are you hitting these metrics? Do you have these number of sales calls a month? Da 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 da, and pushing, because I'm like, well, I didn't speak with 10 people today, so that means I'm not doing enough. Forgetting that maybe I spoke with 100 and I helped 15, but that doesn't count, right? So it just
Mhm.
it's that planning is that, yeah, you're going to get your results. I mean, you're not doing this for nothing. You're going to get your results. However, it's really taking into consideration who you are, what your needs are. There's some
Mhm.
people who
Yes.
get this breath of relief, like you just feel it from them when I tell them you don't have to make six figures. You don't. There's some
Mhm.
some people who say, honestly, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for, this amount of money a month so that I could spend this
Yeah.
time with my family, or so that I could do this or do that. But society tells me I'm not a successful business if I'm not making this much money. There are others
Yeah.
who are hitting those goals, but when I look at their profit margins, I'm like, you might as well be like, you're paying yourself peanuts here. It doesn't matter how much
Right.
money
Yeah. The profit
you're
margin.
growing,
That's
right?
That's
You
so
know?
important. You still want to talk about that. It's like, oh, you're making $1 million a year, but you actually only get to pay yourself like $75,000 after you pay out your team, after you pay for your ads and all of
Yeah.
the other things that go into it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's like, so is it worth it to say that I'm a 7-figure business, but you sort of are living a 4-figure lifestyle because you literally can't afford? I mean, like, it's so ridiculous, right? It's like you leave
Mhm.
one form of entrapment to create your own. And so with intuitive planning, I mean, there are definite steps to it, so that it's not just you wake up and say, oh, what do I feel like doing today? No, not at all. Because that is also a version of playing small. When I would also speak with people and they're like, oh, that doesn't feel intuitive to me, I'm like, yeah, you sure? you know you sure that's intuition, or is that your comfort zone? Is that your comfort zone speaking to you? And
Mhm.
it's a very different way of living. This is just a little bit more bolder, a little bit more louder, in the sense that um you're just
Mhm.
unapologetic about the moves that you make and the choices that you make, and you're really grounded in who you are and what you are and what you're about. And this allows you to take those very big bold steps that you otherwise would not, if you were busy considering what others will say, what others will think, what it'll look like, and how can you justify this or the other. If you're going to
Yeah.
make money or if you're going to get into debt, you better know why. And a lot of times when we're following business plans that don't even make sense to us, but look good and so make us feel good because it's an ego thing, we end up in holes. And when you look back, you're like, I don't even know what happened. Where did that $50,000 go? I paid this market and I have no idea why I paid them and I don't even know what I was looking for. So of course I got
Right.
nothing, you know? Whereas if you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's a different kind of mindset and energy that goes into it, a different kind of. You're more likely to play the long, to take a view of everything from a very active lens, and you're more likely to step into a leadership role for any hurdles or obstacles that come in place, meaning that you're able to balance masculine and your feminine energies in a way you just can't when you're following a blueprint that you know.
Yeah. And I don't know if you find this true too, but when we can learn to be okay and like act not even just okay, but like proud of and happy with where we're at and how we're doing, then more money actually does start to flow in too. So if like you're aiming to be a 6-figure entrepreneur and you're just so focused on the 6 figures and getting there that you're not happy with where you're at because you're not focusing on the right things, that once you actually just let it go and I'm just like, I'm just going to do what feels good to me, and why, like, remember why I started this business and why I'm doing this in the first place. I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, that has been very true. Like once I kind of just had that realization, things started to shift and change for me just
Yeah,
automatically without me even having to do anything different.
yeah. And I think the very first clue is that you notice that things feel easy.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying that they are, I mean, work.
Yeah. Sure.
Not get it twisted. You will work. And you will probably even work a little bit more or harder or take on more difficult things than you could or did before. Meaning, again, it's those bolder steps. So I'll give you an example. Maybe there was a time when, sending mail once a month to your email list was just something that was way beyond you. But then now you're at the place where you can send one every day and it's a joy and a pleasure for you. That's what I mean.
Yep.
That it doesn't mean that the work gets at a different level. You're at a very different skill level. Your mindset is different. You're not in struggle mode, which means that you're not constricted. Because, even when we look at ourselves as systems, when we're in survival mode, it means that only the most basic functions are working. It means that blood supply is only going to the most basic of our body parts. And at that point, the only thing that our DNA is striving to do is survive and then grow and then replicate. But when you're in survival mode, there is no growth and there is no replication. You are just all about getting through that moment. Which means that if we just now zoom out and go into business, it means that you're more likely to make foolish decisions because you're only thinking about that moment and you're only thinking about that day. What that means is that if you look at your bank account and you panic because there is no money, you're more likely to make a decision based, can I bring in that money in today, right now?
Yeah.
Which may not be good for you long term. Now, if you keep going through your days and you find that everything is such a struggle, finding your clients is a struggle, keeping them is a struggle, getting people eyeballs on you is a struggle, getting guests or being a guest is a struggle. But when you have this different mindset and this way of looking at things, it's funny, but you'll sit down and think to yourself, I'll give you an example where, when I look at like my weeks, and say, okay, so what's on tap for this week, and I'd be like, I need more. I don't have enough networking events on here. But then within half an hour, an amazing people will come up. Now that's something that doesn't show up when you're in struggle mode. When you're in struggle mode, you find yourself looking and searching, and even what you find isn't quite it. It's never enough. When you start off looking at what you have as enough, and instead now you're just looking outward, you're more expanded, things are just different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, and I know we can say this and we can preach this to people, and you don't necessarily understand it until you start to experience it. But it's so true. And I think, we all go through our ebbs and flows too, where we can see this, we know this, but we haven't fully come into to being okay with operating that way. And then we get frustrated and it pushes us back into that old way of thinking, that old lifestyle. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And usually I find that when that is happening, it's almost like when you're driving and the light comes on that says you're running low on gas. Now it
Hmm.
took me many iterations of this to actually clue in that when I start feeling that way, that frustration, comparison, or angst, or hustle, or have to need to
Yes.
scarcity energy, is that I have neglected myself. And here's the thing, we usually find it so difficult to carve out time for ourselves in the middle of struggle. In fact, what people say is, when I make more money, when I get more clients, then I'm going to take the time off, then I'm myself that break, it'll never come. It'll never come. Because one thing
Uh-huh.
that people don't realize is, when you're asking for more money and more clients, you're asking for more work and responsibility. But somehow
Yes.
that part gets lost in translation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once this happens, then I can do this. But it's like, no, because then
Yeah,
once that happens, you're going to be busier and you're going to have to adjust the way that you do things
exactly.
to
Yeah.
accommodate that new
And
way
if
of
you
doing
didn't
business.
step into that pattern of leadership beforehand, you are not going to be stepping into it then. This is a time to learn how to pull back and say, what do I need? What do I need? When I find myself getting into that, let's say, that desperate state and whatnot,
Mhm.
really what I've done is I've neglected to be grateful and mindful. So when I step back, I realize that I've forgotten to track what I'm doing every day. I've forgotten to connect myself in my goals. I've forgotten to self in my why. I've forgotten to pay
Yes.
attention to what I am doing. And when I do that, then I have nothing to anchor me. So instead, when I look out into the world, and because we're all interconnected, whether you speak with people or
Yes.
not, you're aware of what people are doing. It's easy to be like, oh, look at that, landed another client, and here I am, can't even scrape $12 to my name, right? So you just get going down useless tunnel, and it just gets worse from there.
Yeah.
Where you
Yeah.
just find yourself in this a horrible pit that you have to dig yourself out of. Whereas if you're grounded, if you have what are your daily habits and routines, and if you're living your life according to your lifestyle needs and requirements, and really focused on where you're headed, even as you go through every day, owning that things change, and that
Mhm.
ordinarily, we all start out with a plan of how things will work out, but every single one of us looks back and they're like, well, okay, and when it's over.
Mhm. Mhm.
Couldn't have
Mhm.
predicted that if I tried. Um, and you're focused and anchored, then you're able to look at someone and I will say, wow, good for you. Or, that's interesting. That's an interesting approach. Or, yeah, that's not for me, right? And it's very objective, and you don't have any kind of
Yeah.
energy attached to that observation. And there's a difference between observation and comparison. So it's always a reminder, check back in. You need to go back to yourself. What are you
Yes.
neglecting about yourself?
Yeah. And again, going I just want to go back, guys, to what we were talking about earlier in the terms of like your business being a personal journey. And this is exactly like, right now, day or not, let's say you're just starting out, right? This all may seem very foreign to you, right? And know that it will come with time. This is part of that journey. But listening to what Julia has to say now is going to save you a lot of headache and a lot of pain, and probably some years in your journeys. And yeah, this is I think we could probably talk for like hours on this, but
Yes, yes.
I do realize that we're getting kind of to the end of our episode, so I do want to ask you, um, if you had to give, let's say, let's talk about those that are maybe a bit newer in this journey, and give them one piece of advice as you know that they move forward. What would that be?
Yeah. So the one thing that I would say is a whole list of things that you want to accomplish, all of that good stuff, write them down. But every year, pick three of those. Every quarter, pick three from those three. Every month, pick three from what you picked for the quarter, every week, whatnot. If you live your life, or rather, if you go through your days looking at what your goals are, your three goals for the day, and I call them non negotiables. And how this works is I get up and, after I do my little routine. The three things I absolutely have to do today. I don't care how, I don't care when. These are just the three things I absolutely have to do today. If you work like this, what you'll find
Mhm.
over time is that you're accomplishing your goals without sacrificing the most important parts and bits of you, like your time, your energy, your worth, your money. So, if you tell yourself, I absolutely have to connect with new people today,
Mhm.
then and just go about your day. And what you'll find at the end of the evening when you're taking note of what did happen is that you did accomplish your goal, because you
Yeah.
have an amazing system. Your mind wants to work for you, so it needs very specific instructions. When you scare it with things like, I have to make $10,000 today, and you've never done that before, so you have no idea how, by the end of the night, of course, you will not have accomplished your goal, and you'll have given yourself another reason to cry. Instead,
Mm,
it's think about things that work intuitively for you, things that absolutely, this is what I meet more people, make more money, help more people, make more money. So it's like, I would love to connect with new people today that I can help, at least three of
mhm.
them. That's one of my non-negotiables. My second non-negotiable is I have to clean my house. It'll make me feel better. Like that. Like, just decide three non-negotiables a day and track them so that you do see what you're doing, so that you are mindful, and so that you're anchored in who you are and where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's fantastic advice. And I just want to say hello, Delma. Just to set a little hello. So hello, Delma. You are coming in towards the end of our episode here. So if you are just starting, I absolutely recommend you and anybody else that's tuning in later on in the episode here to go back and watch the replay and catch all of this, because this has been fantastic. And Julia, this is just um, yeah, like I said, I love this topic, so I could just go forever. So thank you
I
so
know.
much for connecting here today. Now, if people want to keep up with you, I'm going to pop up your Instagram. But yeah, there we go. So anywhere else that people can keep up with you that you wanted to mention, or is Instagram good?
Instagram is good. And if you search
Perfect.
me on Google, you'll find them on every other social platform, because
Okay.
I know my people. I know where you like to procrastinate. So I'm there.
I love that. Love that. So yes, please do, reach out, connect with Julia on Instagram or anywhere else. If you have questions for her, or just want to hear what she has going on and what she has to say. And I just want to thank you again, Julia, for being here, and everybody else for tuning in. We will be back next week, Thursday. But in the meantime, if you are in a position where you feel like you're kind of unsure of where it is that you want to be, where you want to go next, feeling unaligned in your business, your marketing, and putting yourself out there, but you're ready to take that next step in your business, go ahead, reach out to me, and we will help you to find a way to be more authentically you in your business and have more confidence with less sleazy sales. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and thanks again for tuning in.